Mangwanani mwalelepo vukenjani Vana we Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening in the SADC region and beyond. I'm your host, Ashwin Mberi. Now today we celebrate several special occasions which happen to fall on the 4th of October. Now in Lesotho, the 4th of October is Independence Day. This is Lesotho's national day and marks independence from Britain on this day in 1966. In Mozambique, we celebrate the Day of Peace and Reconciliation. The special holiday marks the official end of the Civil War on this day in 1992. But that's not all. 4th October is celebrated by the UN as World Habitat Day. The theme for this year's World Habitat Day is accelerating urban action for a carbon-free world. Cities are responsible for some 70% of global carbon dioxide emissions, with transport, buildings, energy, and waste management accounting for the bulk of urban greenhouse gas emissions. The future of our planet depends on national, regional, and local governments and organizations, communities, academic institutions, the private sector, and all relevant stakeholders working together to create sustainable, carbon-neutral, inclusive cities and towns. But that's not all, folks. That's right. Today is also Improve Your Office Day. Working in a plain corporate environment can be demoralizing at the best of times. So why not take some steps to improve your work environment? Improve Your Office Day encourages you to make your desk and surrounding area more pleasant and an enjoyable place. Why not consider buying some flowers or artwork? Think outside the box, perhaps, and upgrade your mouse mat, keyboard, chair, or filing system. What I love about Africa Good Morning is we understood the assignment. Improve Your Office Day. Here's a video. Today is the 4th of October, and these are the news stories making headlines. Jihadist chief, 18 fighters killed in Mozambique, bloc says. A local jihadist leader and 18 fighters were killed during a military strike on their base in Mozambique's insurgency hit north, a bloc of southern African nations said on Saturday. Al-Qaeda-linked jihadists have been terrorizing Mozambique's gas-rich Cabo Delgado region since 2017, raiding villages and towns in a bid to establish a caliphate. Local jihadist leader Rajab Awadi Ndajile was killed along with 18 other fighters in an offensive on September 25 on the militants' base in the Nangande district of Cabo Delgado, the Southern African Development Community regional grouping said. In July, Rwanda sent 1,000 troops to Mozambique, the first country to do so. Several other SADC members followed suit. South Africa has deployed nearly 1,500 soldiers in the neighboring country. The insurgency has killed more than 3,300 people, half of them civilians, and displaced at least 800,000 from their homes over the past 4 years. UN chief condemns attack on peacekeepers in Mali. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres strongly condemned Saturday's improvised explosive device attacks against a convoy of the UN peacekeeping mission in Mali near Tessalit Kidal region, in which a peacekeeper from Egypt was killed and 4 others were seriously injured. Attacks targeting UN peacekeepers may constitute war crimes under international law, the Secretary General said. He called on the Malian authorities to spare no effort in identifying the perpetrators of these attacks so that they can be brought to justice swiftly, according to the statement. Guterres reaffirmed the UN solidarity with the people and government of Mali. DRC president frustrated by despicable sex abuse by WHO workers. Congolese President Felix Tshisekedi has called for a frank judicial collaboration in the case of sexual violence committed by WHO agents in the Democratic Republic of Congo during the response to the Ebola epidemic, an official source said on Saturday. President Tshisekedi expressed his indignation, condemned these despicable acts, but still praised the courage of the WHO for having publicly denounced these crimes committed by its agents. Mr. Tedros said he was sorry to the victims and promised severe consequences to those responsible just after the report was published. On Friday, the WHO's main donor countries, including the United States and the EU, demanded the organization's total commitment to prevent the recurrence of sexual violence by some of its employees, particularly in the DRC. In our next story, Ethiopia expels 7 UN officials. The Ethiopian government has announced on Thursday the expulsion of 7 UN officials. The government accuses the diplomats of interference in internal politics as pressure grows on the executive to lift the blockade on the Tigray region. The move was condemned by the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres through his spokesperson. All UN humanitarian operations are guided by the core principles of humanity, impartiality, neutrality, and independence. In Ethiopia, the UN is delivering life-saving aid, including food, medicine, water, and sanitation supplies to people in desperate need. The Ethiopian government accuses humanitarian workers of supporting the Tigray forces. The aid workers denied the accusations. The Tigray region is home to 6 million people and has been at war with Ethiopia and its allies for almost 1 year. According to the UN, in recent weeks, only 10% of humanitarian supplies have been reaching the areas in need. Next up, we're talking about COVID-19 numbers. Over 90 million COVID-19 vaccinations administered across the African continent. As of October 2, confirmed cases of COVID-19 from 55 African countries reached 8,327,856, while over 91,395,368 vaccinations have been administered across the continent. Reported deaths in Africa reached 211,596 and 7,617,656 people have recovered. South Africa has the most reported cases at 2,904,307 and 87,705 people have died. Other most affected countries are Morocco, Tunisia, Ethiopia, Libya, Egypt, and Kenya. The numbers are compiled by the Center for Systems Science and Engineering at Johns Hopkins University using statistics from the World Health Organization and other international institutions, as well as national and regional public health departments. In our next story, Tunisia, thousands rally in support of President Sayed. Thousands of supporters of Tunisian President Kais Saied have rallied in the capital to show their backing for his suspension of parliament and promises to change the political system, act his critics call a coup. The demonstration in central Tunis was called in response to protests against Sayed's actions over the previous 2 weekends in the same location. On Sunday, demonstrators waved Tunisian flags and carried placards railing against Ennahda, the Muslim Democratic Party that is the biggest in parliament and has acted as Sayed's main antagonist. Last month, Sayed brushed aside much of the constitution to say he could pass legislation by decree, casting into doubt Tunisia's democratic gains since its 2011 revolution that triggered the Arab Spring revolts. Many Tunisians blame those ills on a corrupt, self-interested political elite, and they say Sayed, an independent elected in 2019, is a champion for the people. While opinion polls show Sayed's moves have widespread support, his long delay in declaring a timeline out of the crisis has started to cement opposition to him. In our next story, Ivorian activists urge legal support for woman accusing minister of rape. The Ivorian League for Women's Rights asks for help with legal support for a woman accusing Ivorian Minister for Reconciliation, Kowadio Conan Burton, of rape. According to the League's officials, the victim's lawyer has withdrawn and the association has no money to pay another lawyer. In this kind of case, it's extremely difficult to get a lawyer to go with you. The name the reputation of the clients, everything you can imagine is at stake. Also, there is the obstacle of payment, said Karel Goli, legal officer for the Ivorian League for Women's Rights, at a press conference on Saturday. The young woman filed a complaint with the police. A judicial investigation is underway, the prosecutor's office said, adding that Burton had filed a suit against her for libel. Burton, 52, commonly known by his initials of KKB, was the only contender against presidential incumbent Alassane Ouattara in last October's elections. In our next story, keeping South Africa on the COVID red list is preposterous. Lord Peter Hain has added his voice to calls for the UK to remove South Africa from its COVID-19 red list, telling Prime Minister Boris Johnson the classification has no scientific basis. Dear Boris, Lord Peter Hain begins his letter to UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson before eviscerating Britain's decision to keep South Africa on its list of countries from which citizens cannot enter due to COVID-19. Britain's recent decision to keep South Africa on its COVID-19 red list, despite intense lobbying from Pretoria and local tourism groups, has caused outrage and been criticized as lacking in scientific basis. Hain, a member of UK's House of Lords, who has been vocal in calling for those accused of state capture to be held accountable, told Johnson the UK's continued red listing of South Africa has no justification whatsoever in science. South Africa has only one variant in circulation, which is the same variant as in the UK. In our next story, former Malawian Deputy Speaker commits suicide inside Parliament. A former Deputy Speaker in Malawi on Thursday shot himself in the head inside Parliament, where he had gone for a meeting, Parliament said. Clement Chiwaya, who was 50, committed suicide inside the Parliament building, where he had gone to discuss vehicle benefits entitled to him when he left office in 2019. Police spokesperson James Kadadzera confirmed the incident, but refused to give details until he had received a full report from investigators. Parliament regrets to inform the public that the former Deputy Speaker committed suicide at the Parliament building, it said in a statement. It said the incident was linked to frustration with the implementation of his conditions of service. He took the case to court. The legal process is still pending. Before he became Deputy Speaker, he served as a Member of Parliament in 2004. In our next story, Buhari orders lifting of Twitter ban only if conditions are met. President Muhammadu Buhari has directed that the ban on Twitter operations in Nigeria should be lifted if the microblogging media platform meets conditions listed by the Nigerian government. In his national broadcast on Nigeria's 61st independence anniversary on Friday, Buhari said following the suspension of Twitter operations on June 5, Twitter Inc. reached out to the federal government to resolve the impasse. Speaking further, the president said social media is a very useful platform that has enabled millions of Nigerians to connect with loved ones, promote their businesses, socialize, and access news and other information. However, recent events have shown that the platform is not just an innocuous platform for information dissemination. Some users have misused the platform to organize, coordinate, and execute criminal activities, propagate fake news, and promote ethnic and religious sentiments. In our next story, Italian vessel rescues 65 from migrant boat fleeing Libya. An Italian offshore supply vessel on Saturday rescued 65 migrants, including women and children, fleeing Libya to Europe on a crowded wooden boat. The migrant boat was drifting after its engine stopped working and was spotted by the Seabird, an NGO monitoring aircraft flying over the central Mediterranean. Those on board were not wearing life vests and were eventually rescued in international waters by the Asso 29 supply vessel near the Bori oil field following a request to do so from the Seabird. An Associated Press journalist flying with Seabird witnessed the rescue. The Asso 29 reported that all the people rescued, including 5 children, appeared in good health. So far this year, some 44,000 people have reached European shores by crossing the central Mediterranean from Tunisia and Libya, often at the hands of smugglers who put them on unseaworthy friendly boats. Roughly half of those who arrived disembarked on Lampedusa, an Italian island closer to North Africa than Italy. Now, in the last of our top stories, Africa, 4 million hectares of forest disappear each year. The net loss of forests continues to increase in Africa, despite initiatives, programs, and policies to restore ecosystems. In a study released on September 29, 2021, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations and the African Union Development Agency, NEPAD, revealed that the continent is losing up to 4 million hectares of forest each year. In an earlier study, scientists highlighted Ivory Coast, Guinea, and Ghana as deforestation hotspots in Africa. Between 2000 and 2020, the three West African countries lost 71%, 67%, and 60% of their tropical rainforests, respectively. Between 2015 and 2020, 63,000 hectares of degraded land were planted to initiate restoration and enriched with more than 12 million seedlings and 120 tons of forest seed from more than 100 local tree and forage grass species. The program was initially supported by the European Union and has been expanded with contributions from Turkey and other donors. All right, that brings us to the end of our top stories. It's a Monday morning. I know you're still warming up, but we've got all the hot news waiting for you after the break.
Strike it gold and win 5,000 Namibian dollars in cash with Neo Paints. Simply buy Neo Paints products from the selected range and stand a chance to get one of 12 mystery buckets filled with gold paint. All 12 winners will each get 3 extra paint buckets equal to their purchase. One to replace the gold paint, the second to use on your project, and the third to give to a charity of their choice. One winner can score another 10,000 Namibian dollars by showing us your creative use of the golden paint. The best project wins the cash. Offer is valid from 27 September to 18 December at your favorite hardware store nationwide. Visit us at neopaints.com for more competition details and follow us on Facebook for weekly competition updates. Neo Paints, a coat of excellence.
Research has shown that students are able to learn better when well nourished, and eating healthy has been linked to higher grades, better memory and alertness, and faster information processing. There is a lack of proper nourishment across Africa, yet in Namibia, the status quo is being addressed by ensuring that 5,500 vulnerable preschoolers receive 3 free meals a day at 135 early childhood development centers across the capital's poverty-stricken informal settlements through a feeding scheme implemented by the Development Workshop of Namibia. In this clip compiled by Yana Marie Smith, teachers, parents, and the DWN explain the value of the program and the urgent need to ensure all children, whatever their background, are supported during this critical age. Have a look.
Breakfast time. Breakfast time. Is it yummy? How does it taste? Nice.
As a country, we urgently need a policy that supports feeding at ECD level. Food security is a very big challenge, and children are at risk of developmental delays because of malnutrition. Children growing up in the informal settlements are burdened with a lot of social and economic challenges that trap them in poverty and inequality for many years to come. And to change this, it is important that as a society, we invest more in early childhood development programs or activities.
The Development Workshop has an early childhood development program that started 2.5 years ago. But it really grew this year with the support from UNICEF, EU, and MTC. And with the program, there are activities that we do. One is teacher training to improve the quality of learning that the children receive in the classrooms, and also that the education they receive is child-centered, is through play. And the second activity is parent support, which is about parent workshop to sensitize parents the importance of childhood development, positive discipline, parental care, and so on. And then there's a feeding program, and this is only in Windhoek at the moment, for 135 ECD centers. So it's done in a cash-based approach, where the center receives money and they have the freedom to buy what is accessible to them.
I'm Helene Namkolo. I'm on behalf of parents of these kids. Yeah, we are so happy for this kitchen. We are so happy. And I want to say, let's continue to this kitchen because they are help of us. We are very, very happy for this kitchen.
A well-fed kid is a productive kid. I think because the whole day they sit in class. So one who's hungry won't really learn as much. I think it helps them be active when they're having a full time here. And I think the teachers are also getting good support. So yeah, it's a good motivation.
The feedback we are getting is that the feeding is much more welcome during this time, especially of COVID. But not only then, it's that a lot of families in the informal settlement are threatened by food insecurity. And this is helping children to receive a solid meal at the center, and then they look forward to come to the center. And I think if this can be supported, that there is a feeding program directed to early childhood development centers, this will improve the quality that the children are going to learn, and also what the teachers, this will motivate the teachers to do best.
Investment from corporate sectors such as from MTC and Osino Resources through its Twin Hill Trust are commendable. If many private sector could join forces and invest in early childhood development, this country will be different in years to come.
Hunger is a serious concern in the informal settlement, whereby that meal means something to someone. Often, even with the ECD that are having the feeding program, often the parents, they will come also. Themselves, they also want to have a meal, because at home, there is really nothing. Because of COVID-19, a lot of people, they have lost their job. So they will probably not have a meal for the day, except that they are only waiting for dinner. The kids will go to school on empty stomach, so the concentration will be a problem. They will also be just coming out of the class also asking teacher, can I please go and drink water, but just to fill the tummy, because they are unable to concentrate in the class. But with the feeding program, we see the attendance is becoming higher. The kids are attending. The parents also appreciate. They also know that at least the kids will receive a meal at school. And also from talking to the teacher, there is a quite improvement, especially the academic, that the kids are able to perform. They're able to concentrate in class. At least they are always looking forward for a new day, where they are looking forward to a new menu, so which is really quite helpful.
The hungry kid cannot concentrate is the first thing. If they have something in the stomach, it's better to teach them to understand even. Because if they are hungry, they don't concentrate. The feeding program is a very good help to the community, to the kids itself, to the parents. Most of the parents, they are coming back to us telling us this program, they used to help them a lot, especially this time of Corona, and some of them, they lost jobs, and some, they don't have anything to eat at home. They have to come feed them here at school.
Most of us, the parents, we have not enough foods for our kids, to feed our kids at home. So for now, it's nice because our kids used to come from school. They are already feeds themselves at school with those foods. It's very nice. We are happy with that feeding program.
This feeding program is helping our kids a lot. When we were not feeding the kids, sometimes you see some of them are not coming every day to the school because of hunger. It's Corona time, and most of the parents, they lose their job. But now that we are feeding here at school, every day they are here. When kids are not having breakfast, you can even see them on their face. They are hungry. They're just lying around in the class. If we give them tea and bread morning time as a breakfast, that's the time they're catching up quickly and learning fast. We are giving them 3 meals a day. Morning time, breakfast, tea and bread. Then lunchtime, we are cooking for them maybe rice and meat and salad. And if the ones that are going home, 12 o'clock, they're going home with their food. The ones that are staying here, the ones that are sleeping and waking up, those ones we are giving them a fruit and a water if they sleep and wake up. But most of the parents, they are saying, thank you very much. You guys help us a lot out during this period of COVID-19. We were also there at teachers training at the GW. I sent both of my teachers there, and they learn a lot and they change a lot after that training. It helps a lot for my teachers.
Oh, GW, I have to give them a round of applause. It's very good. They are our best partners. We are praying for them, and please, they must keep on helping us.
I think what is amazing is what we have seen as well before the feeding program started, and even in other areas where we are not doing a feeding program. So teachers, when they see that this child has come to school with nothing, some children will come with a bottle of water only or with nothing, the teachers actually take the little money that they earn from the little school fees that they get and buy something for that child so the child can eat. Otherwise, obviously, the child is not able to learn or concentrate. They're usually sleeping or feeling sick. So, yeah, so the teachers are doing an amazing job.
It's true, there were parents that were even approaching us as teachers. And sometimes you feel bad when a child is not having anything and others are having. So we actually sometimes sacrifice, like, let me not eat a baki as a teacher, rather than seeing a child suffering, not having anything to eat. It was really a big challenge, but because of this feeding program have really changed the life of the children plus the parents. They really appreciate, because we have even received some parents individually coming to us saying, thank you very much. We are no more even spending a lot. It's like now the responsibility is on our shoulders as teachers. But to us it's not something difficult, because those are our children. Those are our tomorrow's readers. Children have been enjoying and they have realized the importance of coming to school, because among all the children, like when we're even checking on our registered book, no children used to be absent, because they feel happy, they feel loved. The feeding program changed their life. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. There are 7 days of the week. Only 5 days I go to school. Only 5 days I go to school.
Other activity we do is improving sanitation issues, hand washing facility, and also toilet. So currently this year we are building 15 toilets, 15 toilets at the 15 ECD centers. 5 of those has been completed, but also already last year we have built at least 10 toilets at ECD centers. And you can see the improvement in the surrounding, that the environment becomes so conducive for the children.
At the past month, I was having almost they are just sick. You are almost calling the parent, come, this one is not feeling okay. Why? Because of hunger. But now we are okay. We are okay. We are just thank you. We are really appreciate this. I really appreciate GW. I got a toilet from them. I think it's last year. Again this year, I got food, which is helping my children community. And then those there are some parents who are not afford a bag for every day. I really appreciate the GW.
Bye, Vista. I love you too. I love you too. Bye, Vista.
The way forward for us is that we definitely would like to see that there's a national ECD program that supports all children, all centers across the country, and that to break the cycle of poverty in our society, we must invest in the early years of the children. My personal wish is to see a universal early childhood education that is equal for all children.
Very much. If we done, shine like a green star in the sky.
Every morning, Africa Good Morning brings you decentralized news that focuses on Africa as a whole. Keeping that in mind, we're going to take a trip to Zambia and have a chat with Mr. Mike Sichula about the happenings in the real Africa. Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Africa, good morning. I'm very well, thank you. How are you doing there also?
I'm good. It's always good to have you here. Now, restrictions imposed amidst a spike in coronavirus cases have been lifted, but authorities are warning the general public that the pandemic is not over yet. Could you tell us about that?
Yes, about 3 months ago, the government then of the Patriotic Front had imposed the restrictions where bars were not operating, football fans were not allowed back in to watch football matches in stadiums, but all these restrictions have been lifted, including restaurants now they can operate normally. As you can see from the table there, in terms of the deaths like related to COVID-19, as of yesterday, there were no deaths recorded. And when you look at the recovery rate, it's over 97% in terms of people recovering. Then the numbers of people that have been injected with the coronavirus vaccine is running over to a million, which is not good in terms of what the government thought they could do. Then in terms of numbers of people that are currently admitted, the number is less than 350, less than 400. So, which is, authorities are saying that is a good sign. But however, like you have said, authorities are warning people to say the pandemic is not over. There's a likelihood of the fourth wave coming in the last quarter of 2021 going into 2022. But for now, things are back to normal, but they are asking people to observe all the 5 golden rules to contain the pandemic.
We certainly do need to remain vigilant. Now, in your next story, President Hakainde Hichilema has indicated that under his administration, homosexuality values will not be embraced, following speculations that his recent trip to the United States was meant to promote the agenda. Please get into this.
Yes, when President Hakainde Hichilema went to the United States, part of the meetings that he held, among several other meetings, was a discussion with the Open Foundation Society leadership that is headed by Mr. George Soros. And when that news filtered into Zambia, that is President Hakainde Hichilema addressing the media last week. So when that news filtered into Zambia, a lot of his critics were saying President Hakainde Hichilema met Open Foundation leadership to agree with what they propagate, issues of embracing gender rights. However, when he addressed the media, he did categorically state that he did not go to the UN to discuss those issues. And under his administration, he is not going to allow, because, as you know, Zambia is a Christian nation. So people are expecting to see whether that is going to happen or not. However, he did agree that they met the Open Foundation leadership, but what they discussed bordered on investment into the wildlife sector. So that's how the response has been from the government regarding that issue.
All right, now in the last of your stories, Mike, the Chipolo Polo squad is currently capped in Cameroon ahead of Thursday's Qatar 2022 FIFA World Cup qualifier against Equatorial Guinea in Malabo. Tell us about that.
Yes, you know, Zambia is sitting on 3 points from the 2 matches that they have played. And the Football Association of Zambia, led by Mr. Andrew Kamanga, has taken an initiative to camp the team nearest to their venue in terms of to help the team acclimatize. So they have decided to camp the team in Cameroon. They have been there since last week. They're supposed to be there for 10 days. Before that, they will go to Malabo and face Equatorial Guinea, whom they're also going to face in the reverse fixture in the space of 4 days. So that is what the team has been doing ahead of this crucial encounter against Equatorial Guinea, knowing that if the team picks up 3 points, then they're going to open up a good chances of qualifying to Qatar next year. So also in the picture there, that's a ladies team that is playing in the COSAFA. They have so far scored 8 goals. Yesterday they beat Namibia by 3 goals to nil. Then before then they beat Swatini by 5 goals to nil. So the Zambia female team that is participating at the COSAFA, they want to beat their record of 2019 when they came out second by winning this tournament.
All right, thank you, Mike. You know, looking at the Chipolopolo squad, I'm wondering, are you open to us perhaps creating a united Africa football team just so we can get some of those strikers? Thanks for bringing us the news from Zambia, Mike.
Africa, good morning. Thank you very much. Probably our leaders will look into that and forge a working partnership so I can go to Qatar 2022. Thank you.
Look at that, an extra leg into Pan-Africanism. Thanks, Mike, for bringing the news from Zambia. This is Africa Good Morning. Next up, have a look at what the weather looks like outside today. Freedom of expression is a fundamental right, indispensable in democratic societies. However, this right is not an absolute right and may be lawfully restricted according to certain principles and conditions. Under international human rights law, and specifically Article 19 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, the three-part test determines whether a restriction on freedom of expression is legitimate. To find out more, watch our video and learn about UNESCO's work in fostering freedom of expression.
The legitimate limits to freedom of expression, the three-part test. Freedom of expression is a fundamental right, enshrined in Article 19 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which states that everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expression. This right includes freedom to hold opinions without interference and to seek, receive, and impart information and ideas through any media and regardless of frontiers. This right is also an enabling right, ensuring openness, transparency, and accountability in democratic societies. However, freedom of expression is not an absolute right and may be lawfully restricted in specific and limited conditions. Under international human rights law, and specifically Article 19 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, or ICCPR, The three-part test determines whether a restriction on freedom of expression is legitimate. Any restriction on freedom of expression must thus be provided for by law, pursue a legitimate aim, and be necessary for a legitimate purpose. Part 1. Restrictions must be provided for by law. A restriction to freedom of expression should be provided for by a prior existing law or binding norm, adopted by competent authorities, and which is formulated with sufficient precision to enable citizens to regulate their conduct accordingly. The law or norm must therefore be clear, publicly accessible, and easily understood by everyone. Otherwise, it would risk having a chilling effect on free speech by broadening the scope of permissible restrictions. Part 2. Restrictions must pursue a legitimate aim. Article 19, paragraph 3 of the ICCPR details 4 essential grounds for restrictions. 1. Respect of the rights or reputations of others. 2. The protection of public health. 3. The protection of national security or of public order. And 4. The protection of morals. These grounds for restrictions must be narrowly framed in order to ensure compliance with international law provisions. Part 3. Restrictions must be necessary for the protection or promotion of a legitimate purpose. Restrictions should be effective, proportionate, and the least restrictive possible to achieve the legitimate end pursued. However, this criteria of necessity and proportionality is often the most complex according to international standards. Courts and other public authorities should thus consider the context in which the restriction is applied. For instance, a restriction in favor of national security might be justifiable in times of war, but not in times of peace. The three-part test sets a high standard to justify and clearly express the legitimacy of a restriction to the fundamental right to freedom of expression. In our rapidly changing digital environment, it is all the more important to reinforce the rule of law and the application of the three-part test to guarantee every citizen's right to freedom of expression and access to information. To engage and know more, visit our website and learn about UNESCO's work.
Welcome back to the best place to start your day, Africa. Good morning. Next up, we're going to have a look at today's economic news stories. In our first story, 3,980 work opportunities to be created for young Ugandans through PSFU and Bird Uganda Safaris partnership. The Private Sector Foundation of Uganda, the country's apex body for the private sector, launched a partnership with Bird Uganda Safaris Limited, a Ugandan registered leading birding tour company, to establish 3,980 work opportunities for young women and men over a 5-year period. The partnership is in collaboration with the MasterCard Foundation as part of the Young Africa Works, enhancing lead firm structure for youth employment in Uganda. Under this partnership, work opportunities will be generated in birding tours, cultural tours, other nature tours, tour driving, food and craft production, cultural dances value chain, and will be implemented in various districts. Bird watching is the fastest growing outdoor recreation activity in Uganda. The country boasts of 1,081 bird species in the Albertine areas, 85 of which are rare unique species and within East Africa are only found in Uganda. In our next story, heartbreak as Ivory Coast sets a lower cocoa purchase price. The purchase price of cocoa to farmers in Côte d'Ivoire, the world's leading producer, has been set at 1.25 euro per kilo at the opening of the 2021-2022 cocoa season, a drop of 17.5%, the Ivorian regulatory body for the sector announced on Friday. During the previous campaign, which coincided with the presidential election of 2020 in Côte d'Ivoire, the price paid was 1.52 euros per kilo. An electoral price had denounced the opposition. Farmers in tropical countries are the poor cousins of the sector. They receive only 6% of the $100 billion annual global cocoa and chocolate market, which is locked up by the big industrialists. In Côte d'Ivoire, more than half of the farmers live below the poverty line, according to a World Bank study. The situation is similar in Ghana, where some 800,000 families live off the brown gold. Now, in Zimbabwe, stakeholders pledged to boost gold deliveries. Stakeholders in Zimbabwe's gold industry vowed to increase their deliveries of the commodity amid concerns over a decrease in production. According to Scott Sakupwanya, the owner of Better Brands Jewelry, one of Zimbabwe's leading gold agents, the country also needed to do more to stop leakages by corrupt dealers and smugglers, which cost the country billions of dollars. Zimbabwe's mining minister Winston Chitando also underscored the importance of the National Gold Buyers Association of Zimbabwe in boosting Zimbabwe's gold output in the long term. Gold accounts for most of Zimbabwe's annual earnings in the mining sector, in addition to being its largest foreign currency earner, and the government hopes to be able to extract 100 tons of the metal by 2023. In our next story, the UK is offering thousands of visas to ease its truck driver shortage, with South Africans in demand. In response to the escalating crisis around fuel shortages and empty supermarket shelves, the UK government is looking to make thousands of visas available to foreign workers, says Nicola Digby, a senior consultant at specialist immigration firm Sable International. Anouk Marais, chief executive of Innovative Solutions Group, told RSG that this is not a new trend, with South Africans in demand for many years. Marais' company specializes in outsourcing work functions, including hiring logistics and drivers for companies, and he has also employed local drivers to work for international companies. Anda Malescu, the managing partner at Miami-based Malescu Law, told the Financial Times that UK and US companies are growing increasingly desperate due to a lack of workers. Companies such as Walmart are offering an $8,000 signing bonus for some drivers, while British retailer John Lewis announced plans to raise driver salaries by up to £5,000 a year as the UK faces shortages. In the last of our economic news stories, wage deal imperils South African municipalities' finances. South African municipalities' budget frameworks are at risk of being compromised by a 3-year deal that granted their workers inflation-beating increases. Municipalities' employee-related costs rose to 5.2% in the year through June, Statistics South Africa said on Thursday in a quarterly report of financial statistics from selected areas. The increase exceeds an interim 1.5% pay raise agreed by South Africa's national government and unions representing a majority of civil servants this year. A succession of government reports has shown the mounting risk the 257 municipalities pose to the nation's finances. Local authorities' inability to collect payment for rates and services from residents who are unable or unwilling to pay means they struggle to settle their own bills. South Africans are scheduled to vote in local government elections on 1 November. All right, that brings us to the end of our economic news stories. We'll take a short break and we'll be back with your sports updates. Now, a draw in football generally means the two teams are more or less equally yoked, which makes sense when Manchester City and Liverpool draw. But to me, it does not make sense when Brighton draws with Arsenal. But my feelings are not what matter. What matters is the sports updates up to date with the one and only Ari Hochad. Ari, take it away.
Yes, Ashwin, very good morning. Yes, it's always tough on a Monday with all the results coming in for supporters. But I must say, Brighton is doing very well in the English Premier League. They tied third at the moment on 14 points on the lock lead. So they're doing well. It was a good draw for them against Arsenal. But let's go on to some of the other results of the English Premier League. Like you mentioned, it was a big game yesterday afternoon. It was Liverpool playing the defending champions Manchester City. So that was a big game at Anfield. It was twice that Manchester United or Liverpool went ahead. Manchester City came back and it ended 2-2. So Manchester City and Liverpool dropping points there. And also Manchester United that dropped points. They had an easier game. That's them playing against Everton at home. And their game ended there 1-1. So it was not a good result for Manchester United. The winner of the weekend is then Chelsea. Chelsea that won on the weekend, and they're leading at the moment after 7 games. They've got 16 league points. Liverpool is on 15, and then Manchester City and Manchester United on 14. And as I mentioned, Brighton also on 14 and Everton also on 14 points. So it's quite congested at the top of the English Premier League at the moment, and big games coming up this coming weekend as well. On to some rugby news, and there was something to smile about for the South African supporters, for the Springboks. They really left their best performance for last in this year. Well, they're still going to the UK for a tour, but it was a very long season for them. They've been in the beer bubble since June, with the Lions tour coming up, and then to Australia. But just quickly, the result of the weekend: the Springboks beat the All Blacks in a very exciting Test match that was played at the Gold Coast in Australia by 31 points to 29. Great win for the Springboks. They played exciting rugby and deserved winners, but also deserved winners of the Rugby Championships. These are All Blacks. They already won it before the kickoff on Saturday. They had 25 league points, and they won the Rugby Championship title. Australia also played against Argentina. That was academic, and they beat Argentina by 32 points to 17. Also in the United Champions Rugby Championship, that is club rugby or the franchises, South African franchises playing in Europe. It was really tough for the South African franchises. All of them lost. I think they're finding their feet still in the UK, and also understanding that the UK do have very strong teams, and also playing without their Springboks in many of the teams. But the Lions and the Sharks, the Bulls and the Stormers all unfortunately lost over the weekend. The Stormers had a good start against Munster there, leading in the first half, but fell away in the second half. On to some cricket news. There was a 5-day test, a women's test that was played in Australia between Australia and India. It was a day-night 5-day test, and it ended in a draw. The first day there was lots of rain, but it ended in a draw. So no result there. But in the under-19 World Cup qualifying, the African teams that are playing at the moment, results from yesterday: Uganda beat Rwanda by 100 runs, and then Tanzania, too strong for Nigeria. They beat them by 9 wickets. And more Southern African interest is that Tanzania beat Namibia by 48 runs. So that was a big game for Namibia over the weekend. Tanzania 200 for the loss of 8, and Namibia could only reply with 152. But Namibia play today again. They play against Rwanda, and the other game today is Nigeria playing against Uganda. All these games being played in Kigali. Then on to some golf news. It was the Daniel Classic, or the Daniel Invitational. The Alfred Daniel played at St Andrews, the legendary St Andrews golf course in Scotland. And it was Danny Willett of the UK, Danny Willett of England, that came out to winner. That is the legendary St Andrews golf course. It was Danny Willett. It was actually his birthday. He was 34 years yesterday. He won the tournament by 18 under par. Many of the Ryder Cup European players also played. Second place was Tyrrell Hatton on 16 under par, and Shane Lowry was also there on 15 under par. Southern African interest, it was Dean Burmeister He ended tied 7th on 13 under par. That is Danny Willett, the winner of the tournament. And Dean Burmeister, South African interest, 13 under par. I still think he's a Zimbabwean. He's born in Mutare and he plays under the South African flag. So we'll both South Africa and Zimbabwe can claim him. And just to close off quickly, tennis news. It is the Indian Welsh women's tournament that starts today, and the men's. They're playing, and the big news is that Emma Raducanu, she's the US Open women's winner. She's playing. She got an invite to play in the Indian Welsh tournament. It's in California. It starts today till the 17th of October, so a big tournament coming up. That is Emma Raducanu. She is from England and the new US Open women's champion. So it will be good to see how she can do after winning that prestigious tournament. That's the sports news for today. Lots of sport that happened over the weekend. I hope your team did well. Have a great Monday, and we'll talk again on Friday to preview this coming weekend sport. All the best. Bye-bye.
Looking forward to Friday. Thank you, Ari, for bringing us the sports news updates. After the break, your headlines. Africa Good Morning has been streaming live from 7 a.m., bringing you the news and current affairs from the SADC region and beyond. Next up, let's have a look at the headlines from today's top stories. Southern Africa, jihadist chief, 18 fighters killed in Mozambique, bloc says. UN chief condemns attacks on peacekeepers in Mali. DRC president frustrated by despicable sex abuse by WHO workers. Ethiopia expels 7 UN officials. 3,980 work opportunities to be created for young Ugandans through PSFU and Bird Uganda Safaris partnership. In soccer, the English Premier League continued with Manchester United dropping points at home. Those have been our stories. Make sure you send us your opinions, your thoughts on the show at AGM_2centsworth@nmh.com.na. And keep watching the show on our website, oneup2.com. Give us more opinions on social media pages, Facebook and Twitter, Africa Good Morning. Don't forget to sanitize, wear your mask, keep your mask on, and social distance. Now, I understand it's a Monday and we're feeling a little anxious, but the Shona say chikuru kufema. The most important thing to do is to breathe. My name is Ashwin Berry. See you tomorrow.